Namaste everyone, welcome to my channel Balance Lab. This is Aga with my dear friend Monica.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
Hello Aga.
Hi everybody, welcome and thank you for tuning in today. We are here going to talk about Schumann resonance, human field, biocentrism, and our journey separated together into the energy field, connecting to your soul, transformative experiences, and hopefully this will be inspiring to you. We want to keep it light, so expect a lot of fun here, high frequency. I trust everyone is doing well. I know that we are experiencing a lot of solar flares, which I've been feeling, and sometimes it results in my disruption of my sleep. So I definitely recommend a lot of self-care, tuning into nature, releasing some of that tension into the earth, using healing balls, using crystals. I brought one to show you today, but we have many in the room because vibrations are so important in our place, right?
Yes.
So Monica, you are my honored guest today. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell our guests about yourself. What do you do?
I'm Monika Gutkowska. I'm a clinical psychologist and I work at Northwestern University currently at the Counseling and Psychological Services. So I work with a lot of
very serious
position, a lot of brilliant young people who need support and help. They come to us.
So they're very gifted usually, right?
They are, yes. And I also start a little practice on the side and work a lot with grief and loss, trauma, transitions, adjustment to life, and just helping finding happiness for people and wanting to live the life they want and wanting the life that they have.
Amazing. So this is where we align, right? Because our goal is to, through our own journey, for our commitment and continuous education and passion, offer the same sort of quality transformation to other people. So it's not just academic based, but it's personal based, right?
Yes.
And we talked about it a lot, how it's so difficult to connect to the energy field, to feel the field, to understand it. What tools do we have? How come some people feel something, some doesn't? And I know you had some challenges with that when you started your meditative practice.
Yes, for sure.
So tell me, how was this for you? Do you believe that we have energy field and the field speaks to us?
So I didn't
be honest.
Always.
You didn't always. Okay.
So, my training, I feel sad about it because I know we operate in the same wavelength, we speak the same language, we are committed to the same things.
Exactly.
And sometimes our training is another line, right? And it's not a fault of ours, but how it's separated.
The former education.
The form of education, right? Because I wish in my former education we could talk about energy fields and quantum physics
and Schumann resonance,
and it wouldn't be just like this woo-woo stuff that it's okay, that's somewhere there and let's focus on some empirical evidence how to heal people. And I think it's changing a little bit and slowly, but still. Yeah.
So you also, I know, of course, you personally and how you embarked on your personal journey of healing, utilizing meditation, utilizing altered states of consciousness. I remember when we did your first hypnosis, how, it takes time and process, right, and patience to get to the deeper levels.
Yes. And I think, right, mine is deep. Right, it's an abyss. We can never really fully comprehend it or know it, right? And my journey started. It has been a long process, but it started maybe a few years back. Just dipping in the meditation, mindfulness practices, just going through different trainings and trying it on my own. If I'm going to tell my students, my clients about this, I'd rather know what I'm talking about and also see it doesn't really work. and just engaging in different rituals and learning about energy. I remember when we met and you talked about Vipassana, and
you signed up.
I signed up a couple of years ago, and I was petrified.
Exactly,
because it's 10 days of
silence
and being with your thoughts.
Discipline.
I have never done that before. I could barely sit still for more than 6 minutes at a time. I'm always doing something. I'm always busy, and I think my trajectory had been that way. So there was an opportunity to really slow down, and the first 4 days were hard. I think the whole 10
torturous.
Days I wanted to scream and run out of the room, like, what the hell, Aga? Why?
And you couldn't, because you had to remain silent the entire 10 days.
So I had a lot of conversation with my mind. And,
there were battlefields,
Yes, and I remember when the instructor was just focused on this one part.
Anapana, right?
Yes.
Below your nostril, above your upper lip. That's the first step, like turning your internal gaze and awareness into the phenomenon of the breath.
And after the first day, I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. I went to my teacher and I said, I think there's something wrong with me.
Like, I don't feel shit.
I don't feel shit, and my mind is going crazy in 5 different million directions.
Yes.
She's like, that's totally fine. Just keep doing
Just
it.
Keep
You're exactly where you should be, right? That's the message. Like, we are all exactly where we should be. So
very minimal, right? They're very minimal in their approach.
Yes, just encouraging and normalizing. I'm not the only one. And I remember on maybe day 4, I started to feel it. I started to feel the vibrations in my nose, the hair that was vibrating, and the sensation here, and it just blew my mind. There are a lot of things I learned from Vipassana that we could have an entire episode about this right there.
And it's coming.
But I think that the meditation, what it taught me, and especially the 10 course, is that we're not our minds. We are not our thoughts, and we can really create that space between what we believe and how we react to circumstances that creates freedom, regardless what's happening around us. And that is very powerful.
And even, where the beliefs come from to begin with, right? We're born into this world with set of beliefs, rules, cultural normalities.
Absolutely.
And then they are being ingrained and amplified
and reinforced, right? By our culture, by our family, by our peers, by events in our lives, right? And then we think we become all of that, right? The thoughts and beliefs, and we are so much more than that.
Exactly.
And we can step outside of that. We internalize it, and we don't have to. We don't have to do that.
Fast forward, it's been about a year and a half since you completed your Vipassana, right? Meditation course, and you've been meditating ever since, and you do other work to deepen the connection with the soul, with the source, which is you, but you want to experience yourself from a broader perspective, right? So this is what we're coming into. What I want to touch upon, do you see that connection deepening? Meaning, because I noticed few things, right? That we have this, most of the time, if we want to, we have a connection that is psychic, and you can send me a message or send you a message in the mind, and we know it, we feel it. Just it's a certain frequency, or naturally there is a tendency to do something or say something, and then when you do that, you realize that person was in the same wavelength, in sync. So I noticed that with you, and I don't know, as far as your sensations in the body, do you feel more now? You've done your Reiki also with me, and you've practiced on some clients and people, friends, and is your ability to tune into your subtleties stronger I guess that's my question. Mm-hmm.
For sure. I did not feel anything at first.
Yes, exactly. As a rock, solid as a rock.
And I'm like, oh, what are you talking about? You're crazy. Yes. It's like, what do you mean? But I've noticed, like, through meditation, I do the yoga teacher training too, so this is very body focused, right? Mm-hmm. Tuning in, the energy work. I can feel more. I can feel definitely my own sensations, my intuition grow. Mm-hmm. Trusting that, right? Mm-hmm. Like even knowing, okay, this is what it feels like when I'm aligned to the source, or this is what it feels like when something is off.
Correct.
I should listen to that voice or that feeling. Sometimes it's not a voice, sometimes it's an image, or sometimes it's just a feeling in the body. And I think like I feel more just in different spaces. I can see where I feel more comfortable and nature by the lake, in the flow, right? At work, when it's stressful, I can walk in. I'm like, okay, I feel that vibrational energy. I mean, it's still not, I'm still kind of, skeptical a little bit.
So let's talk about it, because a lot of people are skeptical, right? Yes, so I love these kinds of challenges when people are very skeptical and they want to throw arrowheads at me and they want to debate me. I love that because, you should question things that you're not experiencing, right? How can you believe? The one thing is that the fact that we cannot perceive something doesn't mean that doesn't exist. We just don't have perception developed tools or senses that are not physical that would allow us to experience those things, right?
For sure.
So it's good to question things, but also understand like our own limitations in training, in practice. Mm-hmm. It's like with a muscle, right? You train the muscle, it grows, it works for you. So it's a psychic muscle, you could say. So I know you had some questions. We talked about some things that are hard to grasp for a lot of people, like how come the physical reality is a holograph, right? It's a projection. That's a big one, I think, for you and most people.
Absolutely, right? Because this is real, and we learned that this is learned.
Exactly. Right? So we learned, meaning, okay, who teaches that, and why is it being taught, right?
And we show up in a reality that sometimes, right? We talk about that. Oh, we create our own reality. We choose it, right? This is a mirror, a reflection of us. But sometimes it's like, I didn't choose that.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't choose that person coming into my life. I didn't choose that fight. I didn't choose that, relationship or whatever else it is.
And we revolt, right? Mm-hmm.
And so how does that work? How does that hologram work?
Yes, exactly. So I look at the hologram like a folder, right? And when we see an image, for instance, like this room, we can step into the folder and that space expands. So think about it as like a vignette to which you can walk into, and then it becomes a scene. Mm-hmm. I am very much interested in physics. So the reason I use this example is because on a quantum level, we know that particles are entangled. They're in communication. Everything is vibrating. Everything is sending signals. But it happens so fast, thousands times per second, that it gives us an illusion of chronology, where in reality, everything's happening simultaneously, right? So if we want to really tap into the law of attraction and creating our own reality, we need to really go to the quantum field. So it means beyond the logic, beyond what we were taught, we're born into. There is this myth on Earth that physical reality is real. And again, like physics already stated a long time ago, that universe is mental, is energetic, right? Like space, what scientists consider empty space, which is not empty, it's 99.9 everything that exists in the universe. So it's looking like, another example would be a brain. We have glial cells and we have neurons, and glial cells are like a glue. It's a background, and neurons are like the stick figures in the foreground. So without the background, we don't have any context, right? So we need both. So when we talk about particles, when we talk about energy, we're talking about like that background, what creates our reality, because outside of this context, this room, we wouldn't be able to actually have the understanding on a bigger scale. Okay, it would be just two figures in a space. Okay, that is not enough to create a story, right? That's why we need the glue, we need the background, we need the glial cells in the brain, so that the story is going, because the story is going to ensure that we have an experience. So this is really about the experience. And because these vibrations are so rapid, it takes a little bit of time to tune into what they mean and how to differentiate between them. Your body essentially is a proxy for which these realities pass. And when I explain it to people or clients, I use an example of album The Wall by Pink Floyd. You have that triangle, and then it's like a prism, right? And the light passes through and casts the colors, the rainbow colors on the wall. So it's the same thing with vibration. So energy is everywhere, but if it has a tool, or if it has condensed entity like us, it can pass through, and the information will be what we consider 3D, right? Our life. The thing is that when we're born here, we don't have memory of what we really are, where we come from, all the stories that are in our DNA, in our ancestry line, in parallel lives, parallel realities, if you believe it or not. But people who are highly psychic, or who have these extra sensory abilities, when they meditate, when they perform their rituals, they see themselves having a variety of experiences at the same time. So again, you can bring the information through you, and watch it, right? So internally, if you can grasp, if you can connect to that realm, then it will be much easier to understand that this is a hologram and projection. Again, it's because the vibrations are so fast, there is an illusion that the particles don't move. But when we meditate, when we go into altered state, like a theta frequency, we can actively slow down that movement. And how do we, slow it down? So that we can maybe at some point, maybe some of you had these experiences, can literally feel like the vignettes that vibrate, these pictures, these scenes come together in front of you, and you're creating it and you're experiencing it. It's an amazing feeling. It's like having deja vu after deja vu. But one of the things that is good to do is to observe that between the breaths, you have that space where it's quiet. It's not empty, but there's really no activity there.
The space between your thoughts.
Yeah, and between your breath. When you exhale, there is a moment where nothing is really going on. So tuning into that more. This is a good exercise for everyone, to find a way to spot that spatial experience, that full experience that is not based on, focusing on one object.
And breath is really important, right?
Extremely important.
I notice that when the emotions hit us, when there's a difficult moment, when there's pain,
our heartbeat, our breath,
right? And nervous system gets activated, and going back to the breath and connecting to it and slowing down and observing it and focusing on those moments can be really helpful.
Exactly, that there is a space in between, and if we tune into that, right, continuously, if this is gonna become our baseline, then what we're doing is actively reprogramming ourselves. We're teaching ourselves that, wait. This is really the base, and everything else is that projection, is that hologram, is that reaction, right? But there is something else underneath it that is brewing all of that,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. Talking about the change in quantum physics and holographic universe, right? Like there is no linear time. So linear body time, that kind of illusion of chronology is for us to have an experience. But in quantum field, everything is happening simultaneously, right? Like I mentioned, your particle, your wave, your probability, you're also an event. So all of this exists in the same space. And that gives us an immense opportunity. If you think about repercussions of what does this really mean right here, right now in my life? How can I utilize that knowledge? For example, the idea that a lot of these physicists are working on is that your present, if you change your present, you can change your past. Because there have been studies that show the particles are affecting the entanglement that was previously created by changing the entanglement in the present moment with the same set of particles.
I think it's a really hard idea to grasp.
Yes.
Say it again, Aga. We always believe, right, that our past creates our present and our future.
So here's
and that's how we live.
So this is the radical idea here right now. The past I'm sorry. The present creates the past. Okay. And I am a very good example of that. And I was just telling you, right? Like very often we hear people say, you know, let's say we're about 40, 20 to 21 years ago, we graduated from high school, and maybe high school was not so beautiful experience for us, or maybe childhood, whatever that is. And people say, my high school years sucked, or my college sucked, or my childhood sucked. Well, guess what? If you change the frequency of the present moment, the story will rearrange because the particles of the past will start vibrating differently. And the beauty of like real healing is that you not only will not be stuck in the past, but that past will change, it will dissolve, it will rearrange, or it will simply not be even relevant to who you are today.
Will we be aware of it? Will our memories change that?
So I can only talk about my example. Definitely, you can test it too. You can test it with people who you think made your life difficult. So when you get to that point, when you dissolved really that vibrational heaviness and the negative beliefs related to the past, what happens is when you meet people who are your parents or maybe ex-partners, you will notice that you have a very different experience with them. One thing is that their behavior, their responses will not touch you at all. Like imagine,
so you won't get triggered.
No, but not only triggered, but you will have love for them. Like you will thank them for. You will understand that what happened was very important at that time. So when we broaden that awareness into everything is happening simultaneously now in this moment, when I am working on rearranging my moment, all the other moments are being rearranged at the same time. I don't know if that this makes more sense.
I get it.
That's the spooky action at the distance. Exactly.
I think it's hard to grasp, right? In our minds, but it is
proven by physics. This is something that we cannot escape, even if we want to. So if you really want to ride that wave, that crest of the wave, that has always been true. What I'm telling you has been known for thousands of years by monks, by Vedic scholars, by indigenous cultures. They might have named it differently, but the information has always been there and it's in a plain sight. It's just that it requires a different set of tools or different education, inner engineering, rather than the external information, computation-based, data-based knowledge. that can only replicate its own version. It is never capable of creating an original idea because the mind is just like computer. It's a tool. It doesn't have power on its own. So we'll talk more about the mind.
It's fascinating. Yes. Mind is although it's a very powerful tool.
It is.
We can train it to work for us.
Exactly. Amazing. Okay. I can't wait.
Let's change the present, Aga.
Yes. So I wanted to talk about something that I'm very interested in too, which is called biocentrism. We touched upon it the other day. There is this idea that actually life creates universe, not the other way around, right? And yeah, I know. Life creates universes. I know. How spooky is this? Spooky action on the distance, right? Like Einstein said, because he didn't believe in that possibility that information can travel faster than light. And this is very important for me, especially because I've come to these conclusions, and I'm sure a lot of meditators, monks in India or elsewhere have wondered, what is this energy actually doing? What is it building, right? If everything is energy, it's like a brick. It creates realities. And for some reason on Earth, we're very based on limitations, very much based on limitations. So where does this energy of fear go? It's utilized somewhere. It's building something. Nothing goes to waste in the universe. It's just being repurposed. It can be repurposed. But that was something that hit me a few years ago. This energy of fear that's cultivated by media, it is creating worlds. And we live in those worlds. And who knows what other things we create in other universes that are feeding off of that fear. Right? So how important it is to realize where your thoughts go, and that you are co-creating everything that happens in the universe. Like that butterfly effect, that the butterfly moves its wings in the Sahara, and then it affects like part of the wind in the other part of the universe. So I definitely believe in these connections. It's hard to spot them again because this is very convoluted and complex. But what we could do is always come back to cultivating our high vibratory state, because in this sense, we are emanating rather than absorbing what comes from the outside. So I love that idea that comes with the biocentrism, meaning that we are always in superposition to everything else. So until we decide to focus on something, all possibilities coexist. And when we collapse into the thought that is persistent, that black hole is curving and is shooting the particles so fast, then we have a particular experience. And in this way, we're very much in control of how our reality over time, changes. Because I know the frustration. I know we talked about it earlier, how, we can't foresee everything, right? Because we're in human body, so we have limitations as far as, even the templates in the brain.
Right. And I think that's so important that you mentioned the thoughts, right? Because we deal with that every day. We think we are the thoughts.
Most people do, yes. And they trust them and they identify with the thoughts.
Absolutely. And the thoughts cause us anxiety, depression, right? I mean, part of it.
Of course.
I'm not good enough, or I worry about something, or had this experience and therefore I'm damaged. All of that is happening, and that's why people come and seek that freedom from that. But you're saying as whatever we focus on, right? We can choose different thoughts.
We can choose, and also, how about choosing on what's between the thoughts, right? So how to connect to the field in a pure way, because it's like a heartbeat of the universe. That frequency, frequency that we all have in our hearts. So when we continuously connect to the heart, there is a meditation. There are several meditations. How you can first tune into Earth and really give love to Earth, because that's our stabilizer, right? As far as safety, feeling that we can tune into something that's much bigger than us, much more concrete. And then when we tune into the cosmic universe in a greater scale, again, just making that aware effort to send the energy through the crown. And when we bring these energies together, one from the earth, from this love, and one that is non-physical through the crown to the heart, it's really good to tune into the heart and allow yourself to visualize like a tunnel, and you're going down that tunnel into the heart. So scientists say these days that there is a spot in the heart, if you have a surgery, and if the blade even touches the spot, the patient dies instantly. So it is believed by many cultures that your heart center, not necessarily your physical heart, but the energetic heart center, the way you feel it, is that connection to the Om, to the frequency of the universe. So the more we do that, the more we find what it is to be in the field, not in the physical body, but like you are the field of consciousness. And you can experience much more outside of your body, right? Have you had out-of-body experiences?
No.
No?
I'm waiting for that.
Yes, exactly. So maybe one day, right, with practice, with breath work. Another thing I wanted to mention too, if you guys want to deepen your experiences of altered states, because that's really where the juice is, right? The conscious mind, that's only about 5% of what you are. And the rest of it, so that would be like a beta, alpha frequency of the brain. But the rest, subconscious, that's a theta, that's gamma, and then delta when you sleep. So you want to do all kinds of breath retention work, breath reduction, talking about breath again, but really utilizing your body like a channel. So you are, you are having fun with it. How would it be to overbreathe and then don't breathe? Or you're learning a lot of pranayama techniques as well, which are really helpful with the body work. Because when you use your body like that channel, you will feel that field. You will go outside of the typical sphere where the minds are clouding everything, right? And there is a sphere where there are no thoughts at all. And in that space, we are timeless, and when you can tap into it regularly, you will be able to create your reality in a way that will avoid detours and situations that are difficult. Because some of it, of course, is predetermined. You need to deal with it. It helps your soul, but a lot of it is sort of like walking with blinders, right? And not having all the information, and then you're bumping into something. And
right, the awareness is the first step.
Yes, self-awareness. Exactly. So I love the fact that we can find evidence now, and it's quite available to everyone who is interested, that you are all of it. You are particle, you're wave, you're pattern, you're in superposition. You can be in all those states, and you choose what experience you want to sort of collapse to using the physics language. And when you work on that kind of malleability, flexibility, you'll be able to dance, through this experience much more easily and effortlessly. So
absolutely,
that's like the message that I have for everyone. Keep going, because if you believe in old paradigm, Newtonian physics, and even some of the stuff that come from Einstein. This is old information. You want to definitely make sure you tune out of mainstream media and get the information that you need in order to actually support some of the experiences that a lot of you have had, and I know I have had as a child, and of course when I started meditating, out of body, astral projection, tuning to people, knowing what they think, knowing before my client comes what I need to do and what are their challenges. You know, you start trusting that space, and this space is like archive. They call it Akashic record, right? Akash means record of everything that happened. You just pull information, and your body is like this tower.
And I definitely have those experiences too when I sit with a client. And
yes, exactly. You're just spot on, yeah.
Right, I just and it's not my mind, right? I don't think about it. It's not my ego. It's just the consciousness, something, right? That shows up, and it's intuition, however you want to call it, you know, and you just say something. Wow, I don't even know where it came from, but this was exactly what I needed to say.
So when that happens, tell me what happens in the body, what happens in your psyche when you are that fluid, when you are that spot on?
You know, I think it's just everything is realigned, right? You feel connected to your heart, as you were talking about. You feel like there's a space of total acceptance and love and non-judgmental sphere that you enter, and also
so you're not biased about the reality or anything about the client,
you're just very in tuned, and somehow you just get out of your way.
Exactly, you get out of your own way, right?
Your own way, and this shows up, and you know, sometimes we want to grasp it, right? Like, oh, can I replicate it? Not just with clients, right, in life, right? Can I just be so in tune that things just unfold the way they're supposed to, or something will show up, the next beautiful adventure of life will show up for me, and we want to force it to happen, but we cannot. We just need to get out of our way.
Exactly.
And trust, right, the process. And I think for me this is difficult, right? Trust the universe is unfolding the way it's supposed to unfold, and because I have a tendency to push it or to like, why is it not happening the way I want it to happen?
The divine timing, right?
Divine timing.
What is the flow between taking actions and surrender, right? At the same time,
right? Taking action, surrendering, right? Gratitude, and like seeing the beauty and actually lessons and maybe opportunities and moments.
Exactly. So to finish this this discussion, because we could go on and on, I just want to give you a simple example or exercise how you can get out of your own way and maybe experience yourself from many different point of view simultaneously, because that's an interesting feeling. If you could split your psyche into few parts that are all active, actually, they feel a little bit different. Maybe they will have a different functions for you. But you can imagine yourself. So first you want to relax. You want to do some relaxing, deeper breaths. You can follow some of my guided meditations to get into deeper state of relaxations through theta frequency. And when you are in that state, when you allow visions and imagery come easily, imagine that you are in a movie theater and there is a performance or maybe a film. It's a beautiful space and you're the main character in this film. And through imagination, create a story. What would you like to experience on the screen? You want to create that story. And then imagine that you're also a projectionist and you're turning on the projector in your third eye and you're projecting that movie onto the screen and see what shows up. You might be surprised. There might be some things that you interwoven into the story or maybe some new things. But notice how you can split your frequencies and they can perform many actions at the same time. In fact, we're all doing it all the time, but we're not aware of it. That this happens, right? The past
the emotional, unhealed past is very powerful. So when we are in the relaxed state, but we're active, not in a way that we normally focus on one thing and we have to complete it. No, it's using imagination, using visualization to give yourself different roles. And when you watch that movie, when you watch yourself on a screen, what is that person on the screen doing differently than you're doing in your life? Maybe you can absorb some of this information. So feel it through, see it through. And let me know if that exercise worked for you, if you would like more of these podcasts. Again, I'm so grateful for Monica being my guest today. And we're based in Chicago. So if you are looking into holistic therapy or clinical psychology, you're trained as a clinical psychologist, right? Please visit balanceimperfection.com for more information.
Thank you.
Blessings. Have a good day.